So that's my story about Chernobyl. And it almost didn't happen. But I put in the plane ticket and everything. Had to buy health insurance for Ukraine. And that was for 3 months. Almost 3 months. I left on September 1st. That was my mom's birthday. September 1st, 2021 was when I left. I was by myself. I did have a friend. I had a friend who helped me get stuff. He helped me get a card for the transportation for the underground subway. And yeah, we walked around. We went to Hydro Park, which is a Hydro Park it's a place where there's, you gotta Google it. It's hard to explain. Yes, it's called Hydro. It's not called Hydro. Hydro Park. Hydro. What is going on? It's in Kiev. So it's Hydro Park, and it's a landscape recreational park on the Dnieper River in Kiev, Ukraine. I've been there. I've been in the water here. It connects to Pripyat, by the way. Yeah, there's like a sandy beach area. And then there's this bridge. I didn't even click on that. What is going on? Google's being weird. But yeah, it was never that busy when I was there. Of course, this was during COVID. So I go to Hydro Park and I do all that. I go down that huge subway. It's the deepest. I think it's the second deepest in the world. Arsenalna, located on the deepest metro station in Kiev and one of the deepest in the world. I believe it's the second deepest. It's 346 feet below ground level. Yeah, you get on an escalator and it takes you like 5 minutes to get to the bottom. And you're at a slant, so you're looking down and you're like, oh, it's an experience. I've also been on another experience is riding on a sleeper train, going from what was it, Odessa to Kharkiv. That's an experience. Yeah, because when you close your eyes, you can. It's so disorienting. You can feel it's like you're about to fall off. And I had a top bunk too. And that's an experience. I like the electric trains. Most of the trains I've been on in Ukraine are electric. Although I think I've only been on a sleeper train once in Ukraine. And there was that time between Odessa and Kharkiv. All the other times I was on an electric train. Because it was during the day, it wasn't at night. So I like the electric trains. They're more expensive, but they're fun. And I had a good time. Now here's a question. Now, I was over there in, Flag Day. I was there for almost 3 months, right? Nothing crazy happened. Except that time when I was up there was 2 police officers. And their phones had to translate my words into Russian. Because the translator said Russian. It said speak. It says, there were 2 of them and they just stopped me. I was like, oh no, what did I do? I was wearing a Vyshyvanka and I was wearing one of these. Vyshyvanka. It was an embroidered shirt. Mine looked like that. I have one over there. I can show you it later. And I had the Ukraine flag behind me. I had paid for it, this large Ukraine flag. And so I'm stopped by these two police, right? And they ask me where I'm going. They don't speak English. They might be able to speak English, but they don't want to speak English to me. That's sometimes how it goes over there. So they had their phone, and I read it. It said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "To World War II Museum, the Great Patriot Museum," because that's where they were doing a Flag Day ceremony. And he said, "Okay, you can go." And it was a weird experience because when I was walking over there, like you gotta go down this tunnel, and there were police officers blocking doors, and they were telling me where to go. They were pointing where to go. I was by myself, right? I'm sticking out like a sore thumb. And yeah. So I managed to do this, to go to a Flag Day thing, and I'm looking at them raising the flag, and there's a military veterans over there, and they're all part of this thing. So after that ends, I'm walking away, and I'm minding my own business. Then I hear this woman starting to speak Ukrainian. It sounded like, and she kept, it was like she was trying to get someone's attention, but she was speaking Ukrainian. So I look behind me, and she says, and she has this microphone in her hands, and I'm like, "Sorry, I don't speak Ukrainian." She says, "Don't worry, we can speak English." So there was this guy with her with a camera, and she said, "Where you from?" And she grabbed my flag and says, "Can you explain this?" I said, I gave my words to Ukraine. And she was very happy to see me. She was very happy to talk to me. We all shook hands after it. I don't know what news group that was. I didn't ask. All I know is they had a red van, and it was a woman and a man who stopped me, and they pretty much interviewed me. I wasn't expecting that at all. So after I leave, pretty much mind my own business, because the next day is April 24th, which is Independence Day. And I remember, and I'll tell you a story about this. When I was in Ukraine, after I left Kharkiv, because I wanted to go to Kiev to go attend the Independence Day parade, to see the military parade and everything. And what had happened was, as soon as I got off the train, I heard these helicopters. There were 3 of them, and they were coming from. Dude, I thought we were getting invaded. Dude, all these helicopters just kept going back and forth. I was like, oh no. But then I remembered that there was plans for Zelensky to allow this military parade for the first time since COVID started. So yeah, we see all these planes. We see the Ruslans. We see we even had the Antonov fly over. In fact, I wanted to see the Antonov 225. But every time I was over there in Independence Square, I never saw it. But people were taking pictures and putting it on Facebook. It was like, I've been there and I've never seen anything. But I was in my hostel one day, and I heard these jets go by. And I was like, maybe I'll see it. Maybe I'll see Maria. So I look outside the window, and I see these 2 jets fly, and right behind it comes this big plane. It's the double tail. And I'm just looking to see. I'm saying, that's Maria. And I'm seeing this flying. First time I saw it. And then I was early in the Independence Day in the square. There were thousands of people, much more than you'd expect in COVID. But I was there, and they had this whole show with the planes, the jets, the helicopters, the tanks. They even had military of the United States, Estonia, all these NATO members. They were just in this parade. It was really something to see. And I thought, well, maybe, I thought, if we're going to be invaded and we all die here, this would probably be the time Russia would do it. If we're all meant to die here, if he wants all of us all dead, the military, everybody, this would be the day to do it. So, that was in the back of my mind. I ain't going to lie to you. I thought Putin was going to bomb us all. That was in the back of my mind, but it didn't happen. But then I remember at the end of the parade, I was one of the early ones. I came in there like 8 a.m. and by 11 it was all packed. Maybe 10, maybe even 9. But it was packed pretty fast. And we see this plane. And there's an announcers saying what planes these are in tanks and all this. Well, maybe not the tanks, but definitely the planes. And they were telling us about it. And then he says something. And then all of a sudden, everyone starts to cheer. And I'm looking around. And all of a sudden, I see Maria flying low. All of them flew low. But this was flying really low. And it was just going across over the Heathrow Park. It was flying in that direction. Yeah. So I saw Maria in person twice. And it was right above me. I'm talking about right there. Across from me. It was low. It was really things. But I never had a problem with Ukraine. I like Ukraine. Would I have gone if I knew what I know now? Well, I can tell you this. If I knew what I knew now and I went over there, it would just be seen like, I'm supposed to be here. It wouldn't have been seen as me just being someone who's looking around, paying attention. It would have been a different experience. It would have been a different mentality. And it would just be different. I know a lot more. I mean, I knew a lot. I know as much as I did back then, but I know it in a different way now. So, yeah, I would have done it. Even if it would have probably meant that everything that happened in my life would be different. I probably wouldn't have gone to all the places I did go. I'd probably always have that in the back of my mind, or on my front of my mind, actually. Say, you know what, I'm supposed to be here, and I'm, it wouldn't have been as fun. It would have been a lot more. It would feel like a routine thing. It'd feel more heavyweight, and I felt free, and I felt open and not closed like I probably would. What I would have if I knew what I did now. So I didn't have that burden on me. So, yeah, I would have went, but it would have been a different experience for me. So I'm at running out of minutes here, and I'll see you guys later. That's my story about Ukraine. So talk to you later.